Hello and welcome to Camp Xtras. In the 90s, arcade games were still a powerhouse, and so was rock and roll. There had been attempts to merge the world of rock and arcade games before, but in 1994 we got Revolution X, a merger of shooter and Aerosmith. This game would get ports to many consoles, but one notable place was the PlayStation 1. I played through it recently, and let me tell you how my experience went and give you some history. All footage was captured from a PS2, and let's go ahead and hop into this one.
It's up to you now. Find our car and stop the new order.
In the 90s, Midway had a hit with the light gun game based on Terminator 2. It was a simple game where you shot out Terminators in the desolate future. With a hit like this, it seems they wanted to capitalize on the arcade cabinet. They attempted to make one for Jurassic Park, but that would fall through, so the idea was pitched to base this concept around music. Though Aerosmith would end up being their choice, they had actually approached the rap group Public Enemy to make a game titled Generation X. That would fall through, but then they approached Aerosmith. Aerosmith has a career that has always interested me. They're a rock band that had their start all the way back in 1970 and had been in the industry for a long time. They had plenty of hits, but in the 90s, after their 1989 album Pump, they pumped out multiple #1 singles. Somehow, this classic rock band became one of the most popular bands once again. I was there, and even in the late 90s, you could not escape Aerosmith. We had an Aerosmith CD in my family car, and it was played often. In 1993, Aerosmith had recently released multiple hits off their new album Get a Grip, which has Livin' on the Edge, Crazy, Cryin', and more. So a deal struck between them and Midway was a huge deal, and originally it only incorporated their music in the game. But Aerosmith was interested in starring in it too. What's really cool is there is a lot of documentation on this game. There's not a lot of info said, but there's videos of Aerosmith working with designers, shooting out ideas for the game, and I'll be sure to put links below. The arcade game would be released in 1994, and it was a huge hit. Playmeter would list it as the second most sought after arcade cabinet, right behind Suzuka 8 Hours 2. So with that, there had to be multiple home console ports. This game would be put on DOS, Super Nintendo, Saturn, and of course, PlayStation. Notably, the home ports would all get torn apart for being poor distillations of the original, not having the power to handle what this game was running. Yet the PlayStation was powerful, so maybe it would change here. Revolution X would release on the PlayStation in North America on January 4th, 1996, with these beautiful long boxes. Brief aside, but I love these, and I want all of them for my collection. These cases are so nice to look at. As far as personal history goes, I have played the arcade version of this game. My grandparents had a pizza joint that they loved going to, and at this pizza joint was this arcade game. It had to have been the late 90s or early 2000s. I remember this huge arcade cabinet with guns and the music of Aerosmith calling out to me, and I remember loving playing this game. I also loved Aerosmith as a kid. I was a kid of the 90s, and they were everywhere, and they had so many hits. I've eventually come to not love them as much, but they are a very important band. It had been a long time since I revisited this game though, with this PlayStation version being the easiest way to play it nowadays for me. So let's see how this port holds up, and let's kick it off with the plot. The game opens with you on the way to an Aerosmith concert in 1996. It's hard being a teen in 1996 because the New Order Nation, which controls the world, has banned all youth culture, meaning music, movies, and games are all outlawed. Freedom of expression is dead, but the aging rock band Aerosmith fights back. On your way to the latest show, the whole band has been kidnapped, and you must kill every non-agent to save every band member. Every band member has been scattered across the world, and you must stop ninjas, prison buses, and mutants along the way to save them. One thing I can positively say about Revolution X is that I love the bonkers story here. Is it necessarily good? No, but it is fun. Going along with the Aerosmith single Eat the Rich, it's a playful fight against corrupt governments. It has no subtlety about it, and it never says anything of substance, but it's what you want out of a rock game. Rock music is the key to winning, and you use CDs and shoot anyone who hates rock. It's fun, and not in your face either. I was expecting more Aerosmith clips, but you only get a few. The story is not the focus here, but they do enough to give this game a fun atmosphere. It's silly, and I like silly stuff. Though this is a multiple ending game where you get a bad ending if you don't save every band member along the way, so there's a little variety. Yet can you say the same for the gameplay? So Revolution X is a light gun game for arcades. You point and shoot at enemies as the screen moves. Strike number one against Revolution X on the PS1 is that there is no light gun support. You, and if you want a second player, have to use the D-pad to point at enemies and shoot. It wouldn't be too bad, but the cursor speed is always too slow. Even in the settings, you can move the speed of the cursor all the way up, but even at the maximum setting, it never feels good. And it's imprecise. This is the only gameplay too, so that means the core of the game doesn't feel good, and it can't be fixed with light guns, already setting up this game as a failure on some level. Not only that, but this game is uninteresting without the gun. You just move the cursor and hold down X to shoot. There's no reload mechanic, so you just hold down X the whole game. There's one more button used to shoot out explosive CDs that you pick up around the level. You hit this with the square button, so that means all you're going to be doing is holding the X and then tapping square while holding it, or bird clawing your controller to hit both. Either way, it's not a pleasant way to play. Other than that though, this is your gameplay. You aim and shoot, and it's mindless, especially in the early levels where it's just waves upon waves of enemies. You do get to choose paths at some points, but other than that, there's no innovation, nothing fun, and it's not fun to control, so it continues to be a letdown. There are times where they do change the form, such as a level that's a maze where you have to shoot your way through shortcuts, which is cool, and a tough as nails level where you have to shoot out a bus before it reaches the end of the level. Other than that though, it doesn't do much fresh. The bosses don't help because they are bullet sponges. They take way too long to kill, and it doesn't help that they usually have small parts to hit to damage them. And mix that with their fast movements and your imprecise control, it's hard to enjoy. Boss battles were awful here and made the game more tedious. Another baffling choice in some levels is you have to blow up certain elements on the wall to move on. These triggers are hidden. If you don't catch them, you'll be stuck at certain points, shooting enemies till you find them. It's just boring and uninteresting. All around, the gameplay for Revolution X on the PlayStation is a wash. It's a game that's just about shooting enemies as the screen moves around. It sounds hard to fail, but they do it. It controls poorly and is monotonous. Any game that is a slog like this and takes under an hour to beat is doing something wrong, and you can pinpoint that right here with the gameplay. I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but I'm a sucker for FMV sequences. Yes, usually they're poor quality and riddled with bad acting, but I can't help it. There's a charm to it, and I think I'm charmed here. Seeing the band play and when they pop up between levels is cool. I think it helps the game out a lot, especially with its backgrounds. There's a skyscraper sequence that has some awesome scrolling and movement. Throw on some interesting looking bosses, and I don't think this game looks awful. Does it do anything amazing? Not by any stretch. Also, its overuse of the same enemies is a bit uninteresting. The levels though are well done, and I like the level variety, though I do wish there were more enemies overall. It has that Mortal Kombat quality of digitized enemies, and I think they could have made this a lot more fun and should have gone weirder with it. But who knows, because people seem to think this game is ugly, but even if it's dated, it does have a well put together feeling. The dystopian look and rock and roll aesthetics are dated, but perfect for the time it was released in. Coming in early on the PlayStation, it wasn't going to blow you away, but I do think it's put together well enough. This game does include the band talking. None of them do anything amazing. It honestly barely happens, but they say some weird stuff. The writing does not help them at all. It's laughably bad.
These guys are maggots. They're putting chemicals in all our food. Destroy Chemitech. It's a front for the New Order.
I honestly wish there were more sequences like this because at least it gave me something to laugh about. They do include real songs that are a bit muddy, but they're fine. The background music when you fight though is very cheap renditions of Aerosmith songs, though I do love that Love in an Elevator plays while riding in an elevator. It's an obvious choice, but I'm glad they did it. It's just a bit too cheap sounding overall for a game about a rock band. I wish they handled the audio a little bit better. Revolution X does get some things right. I think the look is fine, the plot is goofy, but enjoyable, and the digitized work is a good time. Yet, when a game is this unentertaining, I cannot give it a pass. The cursor never feels good to control, and the layout of this game is uninteresting. Hardly ever changing the formula, you just shoot down easy enemies and fight annoying bosses. This game is almost devoid of any fun at home. In the arcade, I do think this experience is helped because of the guns, and the home port is just a complete letdown without any light gun support. Revolution X is an absolute mess of a game. I have now reviewed 5 PS1 games on the channel, and this one ranks in right at the bottom. SpongeBob, though a mess, is at least a little fun. Revolution X is devoid of entertainment. While the arcade version critically did well, most home versions did not. IGN called this ugly and awful in their 1 out of 10 review. Though I do love that they were forward-thinking and said, maybe 10 or 20 years from now, people will look back on Revolution X and compare it to some of the really bad 2600 games that everybody loves today. You know, nostalgia and cheesiness and all that. Then again, maybe not. Next Generation magazine would give it a 1 out of 5, saying it was abysmal. This game is well known today as an awful game. It's one of those popular bad games that you will often see in the worst of all time lists if you look it up. It has a bad reputation all around and is quite an oddity. Though it wasn't the end for Aerosmith or Midway, Aerosmith would work on the virtual music game Quest for Fame and later got their own Guitar Hero spin-off completely to themselves. I don't think Aerosmith is as beloved today, but they are an extremely important band, and they have a strong fan base. On Backlog, this game has over 200 plays with an average of 2 out of 5. Have you ever played this one, and how did you feel about it? Let me know in the comments below. Leave a like as it really helps me on the algorithm. Subscribe to keep up with more retro gaming content, and be sure to check out my main channel, Camp Xbox, for more retro Xbox content, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xtras.